Good morning, REC Nation. Welcome to the Brunch with REC. Thank you for everyone joining me. It is a beautiful day outside. It's a little cloudy, but for me anyways, it's going to be warm. It's my oldest daughter's third birthday party today. Her birthday's on Monday, and we're going to be celebrating it today, and it's going to be a great day. So I get the brunch this morning. I get a 3-year-old birthday party afterwards, and it's going to be a fantastic day. In this session, we have a repeat guest, somebody who's joined us, I think it was about 6 or 7 months ago, Ronald Decoto. And we have a really good discussion going over different zoning and legalization changes, some of the challenges that investors run through, while they go through some of these, zoning changes. As well, Ronald has a lot on the go himself, and I would love to, get an update on what's going on with his portfolio. So, Nick, if you don't mind, just bring your Ronald on. Ronald, hello, my friend. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, guys. Could you hear me clearly?
Yeah, it sounds great. First and foremost, Ronald and I are going to be starting our own boy band. We're matching with the black shirts today, so it's going to be our uniform when we go across Canada and the States.
Yes, that's right.
And tour. How's everything been?
I know things are great, man. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to that Tyler and Ronald show, right? We're hitting
That's
all
right.
cities across North America.
You could do the singing, okay? I'll just do the introductions.
Hey, don't let the mic disguise the voice. This is not mine.
Yeah, that's true. It
Awesome.
sounds good though. So you can be lead vocals. I'll just
Awesome.
be
Awesome.
I'll be shaking the tambourine.
Mhm.
So thank you again, Ronald, for joining me. I know I was talking a little bit backstage there. It's always great to have someone with your wealth of knowledge join the REC insiders in our groups, just to talk about some of the processes of zoning, some of the challenges. Before I ask you a few questions in regards to some of these changes that we've all, I would imagine, have heard about.
Yeah.
How's everything been with your portfolio?
Oh man, it's been good. It's been good. Everything has been good. We're closing on a few pre-cons, right?
Nice.
That'll be awesome. St. Catherine's project is moving along slowly, but I'll say definitely moving.
Yeah.
It's a much bigger project, and I'll just say simple tip to anyone getting into bigger, larger scale projects is that you work with the right team, right? So, I mean, from environmental all the way through to getting a CMHC approved mortgage or insurance for mortgage. That's a whole process going through the new select program that they have. That's actually, it requires a lot, right? You have to try to get a certain amount of you have to meet a certain amount of points, 100 points, and you can do that through either doing energy efficient modifications to the building, as well as going with accessibility or either doing affordability type units. So there's like 3 kind of areas that you can tap into to get to that point system where you can actually then get a mortgage that is amortized over 45 to 50 years and get very, very, I would say, interesting rates, right? That is definitely better. And where we had to make a shuffle, my business partner and I, was we were not planning to go with a CMHC mortgage from the onset. It was just going to be a 4-unit. But we realized that as markets change, as interest rates change, we had to make that shift into modifying the drawings and then moving into a more robust project that would then allow the benefit of getting a CMHC. So now we're now converted a 4-unit building. We're now taking a commercial mixed-use building and converting it into a 6-unit building versus a 4-unit, so that way we can get into that mortgage situation that will be much more advantageous and make the project more profitable. So, be flexible with your strategy. Be flexible, have multiple exit strategies, and be flexible as well, right? So, that's kind of what's in there.
You hit the nail on the head too, which is assembling your all-star team, and it changes city by city, even smaller pockets by smaller pockets.
Yeah.
And I remember last time we were talking about, municipality. You have to play in their sandbox, and
Oh.
some are a lot, more builder friendly in
Hmm.
regards to adding these units. Some are a little bit more delayed or lagged with in regards to the times, and that's one of the reasons why you chose St. Catharines. Though, is that it takes a little bit more work and hand holding, and maybe some time to get
Yeah,
things pushed into the next level
that's
or
right.
the next stage. But you saw some better compelling opportunities because it's a little bit harder to actually go and add these units
Oh, absolutely,
to
absolutely.
pre-existing properties.
I completely agree with you. And I think that's something people can look at. You look at a city where it is there's not a lot of competition or people are a little bit deterred, and you try to get in there and become an expert in that market. And that way
Mm-hmm.
you can basically have a lot of advantage because there's more deals that are going to be available. And there are going to be deals that people are going to shy away from, but you are then going to say, you know what, I understand these processes, or I have the team that understand these processes, so I can actually then navigate it. And to speak to your point on a sandbox, I'll say that's a good actual analogy. Some cities have a sandbox that you can play in. That's nice. That's fun to play in a sandbox. But other cities have like a mud pit, right? And then yet there are other cities that have quicksand. So so make sure you're selecting the right city to work with. I mean, ultimately you can still navigate your way. Just some, of course, using that analogy, some are much easier to work through than others or to play in
and,
than others.
and then how would someone an investor who's thinking of doing, even like a traditional, like adding, converting a single family home to a triplex.
Hmm.
Not that that's simple, but a little bit less of
Yeah,
a more capital and time intensive than converting something to a 6 unit.
yeah.
Um, how how would somebody determine what market's right, other than obviously geographically the distance away from them? How would
Mhm.
someone find which markets are a little bit easier to work in and which markets are like mud in this sandbox analogy?
Yeah, well, the muddy markets to work in really does has to it really have to do with the building department, their progressiveness. So ultimately, when you purchase a property, most people are thinking location, location, location. But once you have actually purchased that property, it's all about zoning, zoning, zoning,
Mm.
right? So,
Hmm.
so I kind of try to advise my clients from the onset. Once you're working with your realtor, just shoot me an address. If I'm working with realtors like you guys are direct, like guys, shoot me an address. Let me look at the zoning. Let's make sure that this property can actually meet the end goals of the client. And I know you guys do this. You guys walk clients through their like have this action plan that you guys walk clients through. Well, what is the client action plan? Are they actually trying to get a 2 unit converted, a 3 unit, a 4 unit, or
Yeah.
multiple or more, right? So in knowing that, that actually really helps me to develop a zoning strategy and see what is possible with the plot of land, and if there is anything that may create headwinds or maybe an uphill battle. And then of course I try to look at what's the easiest path to success, right?
Yeah.
So that's how it is. I would say we tend to help people from the initial stages in determining which property is most feasible, right? Is going to take them to their end goal.
And talking about the real estate action plan,
Hmm.
and I know because you also help investors, go through the process of finding the right opportunity for them
Yeah,
to add units or to change, go through zoning changes.
yeah.
But I'm sure you know this as well. I find that especially the first discussion with an investor, once they have an idea that they want to do an investment like this,
Hmm.
um, the first question is the first objective for me being an advisor is to ask the right questions,
Hmm.
because I always find, you always start the conversation, you can ask a question which is, how many units are you looking, end goal,
Hmm.
how many units are you looking to have in the specific property, and you get such a broad answer, and then you ask how much capital are you looking to deploy, and you get such a broad answer, and uh, I find that you know asking the right questions is really important, but I think it also
Hmm.
takes, it takes time, and it also takes someone to be able to break down, okay, if you're looking into, for example, Oshawa, and you have X amount of dollars based off my market knowledge, and, and how long you would, like to do this type of renovation or conversion,
Yeah.
you're probably looking towards something like a threeplex or a six, whatever their situation is.
Yeah.
And I find that the first rounds of discussions with building these plans, and I'm sure you agree as well, is, let's just throw everything that you're thinking about on this piece of paper that I have here. Let's do a brain dump, and then let's try to piece it together. And that might take a week, that might take a month,
Mm-hmm.
but at least, we are asking the right questions to try and provide value. And just to kind of talk about that, like the plan building,
Yeah.
if someone was thinking of, doing one of these conversion types of opportunities,
Mm-hmm.
what are some common questions you think that they should have answered before they even go to an expert?
Yeah, that's a good question, and we tend to address those as well. So I do agree with you. We have to ask the right questions.
Yeah.
When I mean the clients need to ask the right questions, and it not so matters what the questions are, but who you're asking the questions to, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think I said this before, so somewhere, but I heard it somewhere. Is like, if you go to a dentist, you don't ask the dentist, how do you remove pain from your knees, right? Like, no, the dentist is not going to have the answer for that. He might be able to tell you some stuff. So
Or
so
direct
using
you to someone that
or
can help.
direct you to someone else. So
Yeah.
there really is not the question, but who you're asking it to. And what I
Mm.
tend to do is I really try to focus in. Once I start speaking with a client, I really want to know what it is their end goal is, because that's really important. If we don't know if you're trying to do a duplex, uh, a triplex, a fourplex, or a multiplex, then we can't really help you. The second is, obviously, if they have an understanding of timelines, because a lot of people do have unrealistic timelines. They may be getting private money, they may have money that they want to deploy quickly, or so forth. And
Or
they may
pay
say,
back quickly.
or pay back quickly. And if they say, well, yeah, I have like a ticking time bomb I got here. I got to get all this permit in, construction done, refinance, and put it into a stable mortgage in 3 or 4 months. Well, that's not going to work, right? So
Yeah.
so we want to make sure we advise the client. And a lot of what we're doing is that we are basically massaging expectations, right? Because a lot of investors, and new investors particularly, have an HGTV perspective on when it comes to real estate investing. They think it's like a Scott McGilvery type of thing, and you get in
Yeah.
there and hammers are swinging and they're looking great on camera. But the reality is, real estate investing could be very messy if you don't have realistic expectations and I have buffers for both your budget as well as your timeline.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that we definitely try to make sure that the real estate investor that we're working with actually understands. Then of course we certainly want to let them know the city that they want to invest in. Like, some people may have a great budget that they can work with, and yes, they can look at primary markets. But then, in most cases, you invest where the returns are best, and we'll talk about that a little bit, because
Yeah.
where invest where the returns are best is actually investing in areas where it is you can have great cash flow, but also you have a good appreciation as well, right? So your
Mm-hmm.
return on the investment looks healthy first year, second year, third year. And of course, as that velocity of return start to slow down, you want to pull that money out, right? But with that said, we try to really help them figure out which market is going to work best for them. And because we work throughout Ontario, we work in primary markets like Toronto and Mississauga and Brampton and so forth. We work in secondary markets. I want to say Hamilton, but Hamilton is like a primary
Yeah.
market at this point. But I'll say secondary markets like Brantford and Barrie and stuff like that. And then we have tertiary markets like Peterborough and Welland and so forth, and St. Catharines, obviously, that we do a fair bit of work. So we want to make sure that they understand those things. And
Yeah.
also we want to make sure that they understand, like, in each market does offer different sort of values there, right? Different sort
Mm-hmm.
of it is depend on what they're really looking for. Now, with that said, Toronto, I want to speak a little bit on Toronto because Toronto now have their multiplex zoning bylaw. So I
Yeah.
like to say Toronto is back in the game. They're off the bench and they're putting up big numbers, right?
Hmm.
In the last 2 months, we have received more inquiries in Toronto when it comes to converting single family homes into 4 dwelling units and adding a garden suite to it than we have, like, I would say, throughout our entire existence, to 7 years, right?
And are you noticing it's more, people who own their primary residence that are going through it with something they already own, or is it mostly investors
Yeah.
who want to take advantage of it, buy an income property, and do these conversions?
Well, that's actually a fantastic question, Tyler. No kidding. Because we work primarily with real estate investors. Like, that's what we
Hmm.
do. We specialize in that 7 years now. We know we're doing about 100, 120 building permits a year for real estate investors, right? They're doing either multiplex houses or multiplex buildings. Now, and there's, of course, a distinction there. What it is we have found lately, especially in Toronto, is that we are not getting calls from real estate investors. Why? Because real estate investors do not own buildings in Toronto. Most of them
Yeah.
don't. And if they want to enter the market, they're obviously thinking about initial capital expenditure and of course initial investment, right? You have to come up with a larger down payment and stuff. So 90% of our clients, they aren't even looking at Toronto as a marketplace.
Yeah.
However, most of the people in Toronto actually 50% of Toronto actually is single family dwelling houses that actually contain single families or at least aging parents and so forth. So what we have found is that people that are reaching out to us have never even, they don't own multiple properties, they just own their homes. And
Yeah.
they want to figure out, well, how does this impact them? How can I actually start using my home as a tool for my retirement? How can I set my home up as a multi-generational household, right? And we have been getting a lot of inquiries about that. Now, what that means for us is that we are now spending a lot more time explaining to clients and educating clients, which have not been in real estate investing, on what are the options involved, how can they sequence their renovation, do they have to move out of their home, can they live in it, should they build a garden suite, move into that, and then renovate the main house into a multiplex and so forth. So 99, I say actually 95% of the inquiries you're receiving right now are
Hmm.
from homeowners. And these are people that have owned their home. The great thing about it is that they have the equity built up in those
Yeah.
properties to actually convert them. It's just walking them through that process. And we at Property Pathways are built for that type of consulting, because we do a robust 3D model type of walkthrough. We help clients out with developing their feasibility study on these, and we are also partnered with a company that actually does the performers. So we help someone who actually doesn't even understand, like, all the cost implication that goes into that, hard cost, soft cost. We help them to plan that out as well. So with
That's
that said,
amazing.
it's really helpful when you see you're working with someone who doesn't understand it. But to answer your question in short, I know it's give a long blown out answer there, but yes, most
It.
people that are interested in multiplexes are actually people that own properties, and most of those
Yeah.
people are not real estate investors. They're just homeowners trying to find a way to generate wealth.
The day I heard about the Toronto, the municipal change,
Yeah.
the ability to, speed through the process and adding units to, or at least open up geographically which micro markets can actually add units to their single
Mhm.
family dwelling. I had a feeling it was going to be one, provide mid level units, onto the rental market,
Mhm.
which is
Mhm.
something I think is needed, but
Yeah.
also it's something where, someone who has a lot of built-in equity but is risk adverse in regards to, buying an income property in Hamilton or, St. Catharines, whatever it is. At least they have the ability now to capitalize on some of the equity that's built into their property, and
Mhm.
and at least they can offset some of this, the unaffordability in regards to our expenses right now.
Yeah.
And you got to spend a little bit of money to do that, but it is something that I thought, and I'm happy you answered that question. I thought
No, absolutely.
it was that.
But I
Um,
have a question for you if I can here. Like, are you
sure.
guys seeing people inquiring from a sales standpoint in terms of wanting to sell their property or wanting to figure out more about like what could they do with their own properties as far as multiplexing go? Because now I
That's a
think
great
some people.
question.
Hmm.
That's a good one. So what I've noticed over
Yeah,
the past, I want to say about 7 or 8 months or so, I
yeah.
have had a lot more conversations with REC insiders in regards to listing their potential properties.
Hmm.
It's about asking the right questions, finding the root of the challenges.
Hmm.
I am such a firm believer of, of buying and holding long term. You and
Yeah.
I both know that real estate values go up and down upwards, and it's not
Hmm.
just the increase of value
Yeah.
that you get out of the investment or the purchase, right? You
Hmm.
also get that principal pay down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Potentially, you get the active appreciation as well on the simple terms, and
That's right.
it's it is something that we have had a lot more listings in the past year.
Mm.
Helping purchasers, move assets, take it, at least let some go that's built in great equity over
Yeah.
the past 7 8 years, and
Hmm.
then move the fund somewhere where it's a little bit more digestible,
Exactly.
where because then especially if people are on variable rates, negative cash flow is a challenge
Oh
right
wow,
now,
that's a big one. That's a
and
big one.
and and potentially if their primary residence is in with a variable rate as well, or if their mortgage is coming up for renewal, there's potential challenges there.
Yeah.
And the it's about asking the right questions and having the ability to, really let's just get to the root of the problem, and what can we do, not just in your real estate portfolio, because I personally think that if you can hold on to your asset, you should. um, these are, challenges for sure, but if we can find solutions to it, let's try to do that. In regards to investors or purchasers looking to add units into their pre-existing
Hmm.
portfolio,
Hmm. Hmm.
we have gotten some, but I think what insiders are looking to do right now is to look into those tertiary markets
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
do a potential, you know, Burr approach with
Yeah,
the zoning change.
absolutely.
So I think we're seeing more of that than someone adding units to their portfolio. But
Okay. Okay. Okay.
I I think that's more of who REC insiders are, which
Yeah.
is that 95% of our
In active
11,200
investors.
some odd insiders are active
Yeah.
investors. So
Yeah.
they've already explored the options, or they've already done the
Hmm.
conversions to their primary residences already.
No,
But
absolutely.
yeah, the we are starting to see, like, just I know Jazz and Simeon will be going over on their brunch with REC the market stats, but
Yeah.
we are starting to see supply drop. Even from
Oh
last year
yeah.
to this year, we've seen I think it's a 16% drop in active listings,
Hmm.
which means that I think purchasers are just trying to maintain. They're trying to maintain. They don't want to list right now, because if you're listing your primary residence, you have to go buy something as well.
Buy something. Yes, that's right.
And so yeah, so I think
Well,
that.
I do agree. I think I do agree with a lot that you said there. In fact, I think a lot of people are going to. I think there will be a bit of an influx in the market in terms of deals that are going to be coming on the coming live, just
For sure.
because with interest rates, we just had a last hike there. So with interest rates
Yeah,
going
it's like
up there, I think that's going to get some people anxious. But more something that I think we'll see more of is that that's just going to put more pressure on people with variable mortgages, as you just mentioned. And they
yeah,
may need to, or for one, like maybe home ownership, they may need to figure out how to downsize or how to just get out of that situation so that they can start to rebuild, right? But then
exactly.
also there might be, not might be, there will be investors. Like, I mean, I have some investor clients that we work with, not as big a pool as you guys do, but we have investor clients that we work with, and they are saying to me, like, they own 7 8 doors, 10 doors. Like, over the last year, their what's it called, that service ratio have basically gone up essentially,
Yeah,
right? They're paying almost 15 15 to $17,000 more than they were last year on their current mortgages. So that's significant. I mean, over their portfolio, right? And of course, if you have
Hmm.
more doors on your variable mortgages, of course, that's what's going to happen. So with that said, I mean, yes, we do work with a lot of people in tertiary markets and secondary markets, and those are really key areas to get into, because oftentimes those cities are more like sandboxes versus quicksand, right?
Yeah.
They're more welcoming to have people come on board and invest in their city and kind of bring work to their local economy. And they are more relaxed in terms of their zoning bylaws and so forth, right? And they're not as stringent. Now, I mean, you still have to meet health and safety standards. For example, this is a big one, headroom clearances, right? Like this is something I talk about often. You need to meet a specific headroom clearances. I can get into the details, but I won't on this call. We need to make sure we have meet egress requirements. Egress requirements are extremely important, whether you're doing a 2-unit conversion, whether you're doing a 3-unit building, triplex, a 3-unit building, fourplex, or multiplex. Now, as you go from 2 units to 3, 4, or multiple, the requirements get more stringent for egress and so forth, escapes and determining exits and shared entries and stuff. You have to work with a professional. I
Yeah.
mean, like people come to me all the time. They're like, "Hey, Ronald, I have this problem." Well, we have the solution, but the reality is, some people sometimes walk away for one reason or the other, and they're thinking they can do this by themselves. But I can almost certainly say it took me 20 years of working in the construction industry to learn what I did, and I still did not understand how to convert 2-unit dwellings. So I
Yeah.
had to build a business around it and spend 7 years immersing myself in this information to know the information I know today. So it's very unlikely that by looking at TV or looking at videos and so forth and different seminars and webinars, very much like the Brunch here, that you will gain the experience and knowledge you need to convert these. You must work with an experienced team and an experienced designer like myself, right? So
Uh,
definitely there's a lot more
for
fire
sure.
separation and stuff, but the reality is they need to work with a good team of
A-
people.
and you're right too. I
Hmm.
think so this brunch. There's a ton of great education,
Yeah.
great training programs and
Yes.
groups that help teach insiders or teach investors how to
Hmm.
do these potential larger scale investments.
That's right.
Because the reality is if this is done correctly,
Hmm.
you can go and put all your assets into one or two,
That's
and
right.
that's a great nest egg. That's a
Hmm.
great foundation for generations. And um, but I think no matter where the training, these types of educational webinars or video recordings, it's
Yeah.
a starting point. It is.
Hmm.
It's a
It
starting
is.
point because the reality is that until you meet the team that's right for you, and until they understand who you are and what you're trying to accomplish, everything else is just understanding very simple processes of something that's very intricate and very personal.
Yeah,
um and even by the
I do
city is
agree.
different. so
I do
so
agree.
and then what are you going to do? Like, let's say you want to do this type of investment, you
Hmm.
don't know. I think the groups are like investment groups, and these different like training exercises is a great place to meet the service providers, though.
Oh yeah.
Meet the people who are actually helping investors do it.
Hmm.
And it's funny, you were talking about how you were in construction for, well, you said 20 years, 15
Yeah.
years.
That's right. Yeah.
And it was only until you started this business that you really understood how to actually go and navigate and build these deals,
That's,
to put these deals together.
that's right.
I
Yeah.
always, I instantly thought of myself in regards to driving. Like, so I taught myself how to drive by buying a car first. And then, I learned, which I don't recommend doing on the driving standpoint, but it's something that, you have to take action. You have to commit to an opportunity. And then,
Hmm.
and then you're going to learn how to pivot. Then you're going to learn how to use your signals and turn and do all of that.
Oh, big
Um,
time.
and every deal is different. It is.
Every deal. No, you're absolutely right, man. And I actually agree with you though. Like sometimes you need to get your feet wet. How do you get your feet wet, and how do you buy a car and learn to drive? You have to have a huge risk tolerance, I also
Mhm.
did the same thing, by the way, Tyler.
Oh, did you?
I
Yeah.
actually I remember back in about 20 when I finished when I graduated from my first degree there at Humber. I actually went and purchased a Ford Probe, right? It was a 1997 Ford Probe GT. It was so awesome. I wanted to learn how to drive stick shift, so I actually drove from and not drove. I actually took the bus from Brampton, went all the way to Oshawa, bought the car, and drove it illegally. I don't actually advise anyone do this, but I drove the car illegally back to Brampton, and I did not know how to drive stick shift.
Yeah, it was just this the
And
whole
I'm
time.
on the highway, my friend.
Yeah,
Basically, I put that thing in like fourth gear and drove it all the way down, you know?
that's
So you
so
can
good.
imagine. So you will
That's so
start
good.
slow. My point is, you will start slow when you jump in to do something that you don't know how to do, but just remain at it. In fact, like now, I cannot forget how to drive a stick shift. It's like it's baked into my
Yeah.
neural pathways now. So once you learn a skill, you will it will stick with you for life. But the reality is, if you want to implement faster, you need to surround yourself with the right team. So try to surround yourself by an implementation team. Of course, that's your realtor, your mortgage broker. I actually say a designer before a contractor.
Hmm.
You need a
Hmm.
real estate and focused investor like myself to work with you, because we help you with zoning. We can help you with minor variances, any type of OLT hearings, any conservation issues, heritage hearings, building permit, of course, working with the cities, right? And of course, forming a renovation strategy. There's no conflict of interest for me. I need to just make sure that you can reach the end goal, because ultimately that's my entire, I'm trying to provide that entire solution. And I do encourage you to work with a quality contractor that is willing to integrate with the designer, so that way you can determine budgets and be more precise with your budgeting and have more predictability in that budgeting as it relates to the design and the end product. So really surround yourself by an implementation team. Of course, your lawyer is involved in that and so forth. Surround yourself. Get out to these networking events. Listen to brunches with Tyler, with Rec, and get the information. But then get out to networking events, and then basically try your best to surround yourself and start building that implementation team that can get you from 0 to 100 quickly, right?
And it's perfect that you talked about networking events,
Mm-hmm.
because we have our next in-person event coming
Mm-hmm.
up on the 27th of July. I'm not sure. Are you going to be
I'm
joining
going to
us?
be there, man. I'm going to be there for
Uh,
sure. Yeah.
that one in particular, it's one
Mm-hmm.
that I've been asking for a bit. It's essentially just an investor meetup, like a mix and mingle, where we're going to speak with investors on a one-on-one basis. Everybody in the kitchen and the boardroom that we
Mm-hmm.
have here at our office at the Shops of Don Mills. And I personally think there's going to be a lot of like JV potential types of discussions and how to structure that. I think that talking about what types of opportunities I'm hearing investors really want to
Mm-hmm.
get into right now.
It's good.
I think it is something like a duplex or a triplex, a potential conversion or turnkey, but with the position of structuring joint ventures.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you know the reality is because it is a lot harder to get things approved, in
Yeah.
regards to the mortgage right now.
Yeah.
And us as investors, it's all about time. It's time in the market, not timing the market. And
Mm-hmm.
people still want to capitalize on the capital that they do have. And
Yeah.
instead of going in 100% yourself on the property,
Mm-hmm.
they want to put together two or three, and
Mm-hmm.
they want to group two or three other investors together and joint venture.
That's right.
And I think we're going to be talking a lot about that there. It's just
Yes.
something naturally I'm having. I've spoken this year about, I've had about 270 real estate action plan discussions this year with insiders.
Yeah.
Over half have been about how to structure joint ventures. Over,
Okay. Okay.
right? And just naturally, I think that our insiders and investors in general just want to talk more about that. I think in the next decade, we're going to be seeing a lot more, even traditional real estate investments.
Mm-hmm.
The decade before we were, doing that by ourselves. I think naturally we're going to see more joint ventures like that.
Well, I
If
agree.
anyone is if anyone is in the GTA, and can join us, it's Thursday, July 27th, starting at 6:30 p.m. You can head to reccanada.com/events to register. You'll get an email sent back to you after you register to confirm. And it's going to be a great night. We're gonna have some wine, some
Yeah.
food, some coffee. You know how we do it here, Ronald. It's going to be great. But you're right though. It's about assembling your team, and in regards to bringing on someone like yourself, so someone
Mhm.
to help you with that designing stage. When do you recommend someone contacting you in
Yeah.
regards to this purchasing process?
Well, I actually recommend. It's my recommendation because I believe if they don't do it at this time, we run the risk of potentially purchasing a property that will require
Mm,
more capital to get to the end goal. And the
mm,
time that I recommend you contact a designer like myself, a real estate investor focused designer with more than 5 years of experience, not only designing, but building these multiplex type of buildings. You want to contact someone like myself at least when you're beginning conversations with your realtor. So maybe
mm.
you already spoke with your broker and you kind of pre-approved and you have your money sort of set up. But from the time you start working with your realtor, and the only time you know you're working with a great realtor is when your realtor begins to advise you and start to help you assemble a team. If your
Yeah,
realtor is just taking you out to look at properties, then you're not working with the right realtor. They should be
yeah,
talking about, like, do you have a legal, do you work with a designer, do you have a contractor? They have a list of people that are focused on real estate investing that can really help you. But at the stage when they're working with their realtor, that's when I want to speak with them, because this is the thing. I don't want someone purchasing a property, not to get too nuanced here, but I don't want someone purchasing a property in an R1 zone, let's say, that's a great price, to convert it into a 3 unit dwelling, a triplex, and then only to find out after they have purchased the property and put an offer on it, and the offer is now you're basically
yeah.
a week
Firm.
at elapsed firm. Your offer is firm. Now you realize that you contact a designer and you find out that that R1 zone does not allow for triplexes. So now you got to
Mm,
start thinking about, like, committee of adjustment or OLT hearings, or even trying to figure out a new strategy to make that work. So while the realtor is looking for the property, I want to make sure that they have already understood what is the highest and best use within that zone. So that's why I don't say
it's great.
location, location, location. I say zoning, zoning, zoning. Get that right, and you'll get your portfolio right. So reach out to me as soon as you are talking with your realtor. We are very friendly. We work with realtors really closely, on these here, and it gives everyone the confidence. Because if you know you can convert your property and reach your end goal from the onset, then you can put in a strong offer. You're not trying
Yeah,
to, you put in a strong offer, you can feel confident that this thing is going to work. And that's what we try to do, an offer. And we do that through what we call a suitable review. So we do a 2 to 3 minute video specifically about your property that will help you determine, like, what is the potential of the property, and also gives you assurance that we are also committing to deliver approved permits for you, right? So
that
that's what we do.
I I love it. I love that answer, and it's you have to assemble your all-star team. I truly think even before you connect with your mortgage broker as well.
Yeah,
Have a conversation with someone like myself who can,
that's right.
navigate this maze that's going through your mind, and all
Mhm.
the ideas that you're considering, and then after that, it's okay. Here's the people that you need to connect with, and one of which is someone like yourself, Ronald. You do some great work, so
Oh,
I'm
absolutely.
I'm so happy to see the growth. Obviously on the business side, but also on the media side.
Oh, yeah.
You're putting a lot out there, so that's great.
Well, no, I'm trying, man. You guys are crushing it. You guys are crushing it on all fronts, right? I mean, you guys got everything going on. I think you guys just lost, like, the, what's it called? The Fidigoo
Yeah,
Academy.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the training company with Jazz and Laura, the
Training
Video Academy.
company. Yeah.
It's just it's the same approach as REC,
Hmm.
which is that it's bring clarity to whatever industry it is, and
Hmm. Hmm.
try to try to just leverage what we've done in the past. I think even for yourself, the reason why I think someone should even speak with you to have an initial consultation is that I personally believe if I were to go into this type of investment, a conversion, why would I go and do a trial and potentially fail type of approach by doing it
Yeah.
myself?
Mhm.
Why won't I speak to someone that potentially knows what works, what doesn't work? Why would I try to hit my head against the wall 100 times when, potentially you've seen the things that work and the things that don't work, and I can leverage your experience. And I think that the service providers who can really, who can really truly help someone are the ones that can understand leveraging experiences. And investors
Mhm.
have to do that as well.
Absolutely. So you don't only leverage when it comes to bank and money and
That's
mortgaging.
it. No,
You're
no,
leveraging the expertise around you. And I put it this way, I say, new investors, they leverage mortgages, but savvy investors, they leverage their entire team and they
I love that.
basically sell their risk, right? So that's
They
really
leverage
important.
experience.
They leverage experience, like not just money, not just mortgages, but the experience of your team. So build a strong team and you'll build a strong portfolio. That's just as simple as it is.
And Ronald, because it is my daughter's birthday today, I'm gonna
Yeah,
have you on for another one. But
yeah,
I
yeah.
do want to spend some time in regards to just talking about how REC insiders can connect with you. So what is the other than sending an email to info at REC Canada, which everyone is more than welcome to do, and I can connect them to you, Ronald.
Mhm.
What is the best way to connect with you and your team?
Yeah, so they can do that by a few ways. One, and we have set up our website now. We have been working on it to really make it more user friendly, put a bit more information on there. It's we're trying to not just make it an online business card. We want to make it an online tool. So
Yeah.
you can actually go there and you can fill out. You can look at our blogs. We've been starting to put out a lot of blog posts, but you can go to the contact page and you can fill out the contact page. There is a really cool contact page that we created. But with that said, that's where we've been getting a lot of leads. Once you fill that out, it actually sets up a 15-minute call with me. I will
Oh,
speak with
perfect.
you for 15 minutes just to find out what your goals are. And then basically following that call, I'll then prepare what I call a suitable review. So that's like the best way to reach out to me and get my attention. Generally, of course, once you become a client, then you'll have direct contact to me through myself, right? Now, also a next way, of course, they can reach out is by sending an email to our office manager. All right, and her name is Jeannie. That's my beautiful wife. Right, so she actually basically makes sure that all communication is done within 24 hours of
Great.
initial receipt. So once you send an email, it goes to accounts, that's plural, accounts at propertypathways.ca. That will come to her. She will look at it. She will send you out. If you don't want to go to the website and fill out the form, she'll send you a link that you can also schedule a time on our calendar to do a 15-minute consultation. And then, of course, the next way that you can reach out to me is on Instagram. I try to post content frequently. I post a lot of value add content to real estate investors, and you can
Your
DM
content,
me there.
your sorry for cutting you off before you
Yeah,
talk about your handle, but
yeah,
every single person who is watching this live
yeah.
or at the recording, head to Instagram and follow Ronald, because the type of content, the information, there's not many people doing it. I think you're talking about like very like pull back the curtain niche type of you know um, value
Mhm,
creation.
mhm, mhm.
It's very very unique.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And in fact, I think I heard I heard Laura just said this recently. She said something like she was talking to realtors, but she'll say like basically like what's the secret? What's the big secret now, right? Like
Yeah.
honestly, the secret is there is no secret. Like everything is available. You like literally everything that I talk about is actually online. What's the difference is that I spend time doing the research to find it. So and I try to basically distill it in a way that everyone can absorb it. And with that said, I try to take the most important information and post it on social media. If you listen to enough of my videos, you'll probably have a very good idea of what it takes and why you need to speak with me, right? And why you don't
And
want to
what
just
what
step
is
up and do fire
what
by
is the
yourself.
handle? What's the handle? I cut you off there when
Yeah, no worries.
you were about to
Handle
explain.
property pathways. Just type in property pathways. That's PATHWAYS, property pathways, and you'll certainly find it pop up on Instagram, or you can just Google my name. It's on the screen right now, Ronald Decoto, and you'll probably find all my other handles, the Facebook and all the other stuff. But I really focus on Instagram. That's where my core work is done when it comes to supplying content to the real estate investors.
That's amazing. Everyone, give some love to Ronald. Make sure to connect with him. I think if you are considering insiders, if you're considering, looking at these types of opportunities, you have to consider, speaking with the right team, and Ronald should be there on your all-star list. So I mean that, Ronald, and all the
Appreciate it.
insiders. Go to his calendar page or his website, book a 15-minute call with him, as well as send some love and follow Property Pathways on
Yeah.
Instagram. Other than that, Ronald, any plans for the rest of the day?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, today's we're actually going to be heading down to Toronto today, and there's a lot going on, right?
Nice.
Hopefully the weather permits. Just like yourself, we got babies on board, so it's
Yep.
it's going to be tricky, but yeah, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. So we'll be downtown Toronto some point today.
Enjoy your time. I'm gonna go and celebrate I can't believe that Nora is already 3 years old. So, well, she's 3 tomorrow, but we're
Yeah,
celebrating her third birthday today, and
awesome, awesome.
time is flying. I'm sure you feel that as well.
Yes, yes, yes. No, absolutely. Time is flying. Kids are growing out of diapers, but growing into newfound ways of love and frustration, right? So
Today, my wife and I, Cass, we spent all night yesterday cleaning
yeah,
up the house and getting it ready for the party, to the
yeah,
girls walking downstairs. And I kid you not, by the time that I finished cooking eggs and getting breakfast ready,
yeah.
everything that we already did
Was
to
torn
get to
down.
that point was torn down. The balloons were off, the wrapping paper was rolled out, and they were doing like this, they made like a little makeshift mattress with the wrapping paper. They put pillows on top and made a little fort.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a blessing. They're gonna
Oh
have
wow.
a
I
great day
wouldn't have
today.
it any other way, and I'm sure you wouldn't either, right? So
Yeah,
hey,
what are
we
you
got
gonna
to bring
do?
the kids together, connect, man, and
100%. Let's do it.
we got this.
Let's do it. For all the REC insiders, thank you so much for joining us. If you are joining us live, enjoy your Sunday, and again, connect with Ronald when you can. Him, Jeannie, and the team are fantastic. Thanks again
Awesome.
for joining us, Ronald.
Thank you very much, Tyler, for having me. I appreciate it, brother.
Okay, bye now.
Bye.